Can a narcissistic person develop empathy in this life? The answer is absolutely yes. Narcissists can, in fact, develop a form of empathy, which allows your run-of-the-mill foolish narcissist to transform into the dark empath. In all seriousness, dark empathy is a force to be reckoned with, kind of. But if you can learn to spot the foolishness of a narcissist, you can definitely learn to spot the dark empathy of a narcissist. Let's talk. My name is Kevin, and this is The Royal We. Now, before we get into this deep conversation on the dark empathy of a narcissistic person, let me remind you that I'm here to support you. Down in the description box right below this video, you'll find access for one-on-one appointments with me. I do take telephone calls and video calls through Zoom, FaceTime, and WhatsApp. Also, The Royal We does have a private membership available for you where you can get daily live support from me with a growing community of people from all over the world. Not only do we have daily live support, there's weekly fellowship, there's a weekly Zoom call meeting, there's a workout program, and so much more, all in the privacy of a members-only app. You can download the membership app down in the description box. If you're having a hard time finding the description box, simply look below this video where it says more and there's some dots. Click on that. It will open up the description box. Now, if you're watching this video on a television, you will have to go to a desktop computer or laptop or a telephone or a tablet, because that's the only place where you're going to be able to access the description box of this video. Now, let's get into this topic of dark empathy. Now, when I first heard this term, dark empathy, my mind immediately thought of an empath who learns to become dark, an empath who develops their ability for violence and cruelty and meanness, perhaps in a way to battle off the demonic dragons of narcissism in this world. And after all, this culture promotes a lot of that. Many of you who've watched Dr. Jordan Peterson, I know I have, and I resonate with a lot of the stuff he says, but every now and then when I heard his messages like, be a monster, you've got to be a monster. A good man is a violent man, right? If you're not violent, you're not good. And I remember thinking about that. I'm like, it just doesn't sit right. There's something about it that doesn't sit right. Telling people that they're not good unless they can be violent and mean and cruel. But nonetheless, hey, Dr. Jordan Peterson, do your thing. But here's what I've discovered, is that dark empathy is not, in fact, an empath who has learned dark characteristics. I mean, that's impossible, right? An empath who becomes dark was never truly an empath to begin with. It doesn't work that way. You can't take light and out of light create artificial darkness. Now, can you? No, but what you can do is take darkness or emptiness or nothingness, which is what narcissistic people typically are, right? Watch this. You can create artificial light. Now, can't you? Absolutely. Artificial light. In fact, there's artificial lights right now surrounding me. Right? Artificial light is possible. And so, likewise, when it comes to narcissism, they do not have natural, God-given empathy, but they can learn an artificial form of empathy. It's called a cognitive empathy. And this is where you get dark empathy. You see, dark empathy refers to a narcissist who has developed or learned a form of cognitive empathy as an artificial source of light in order to really benefit themselves. It allows narcissists to be able to connect with people through this artificial empathy in order to benefit themselves. Now, let's break down the definition of the dark empath together, because I found this. We're going to look at it, and then we're going to talk about where you're going to find most dark empaths, just so that you can be aware and be on your guard. Now, according to the definition, dark empathy, or the dark empath, is a person who exhibits both empathy and also traits of the dark triad. What are the traits of the dark triad? I'm glad you asked. It is narcissism, right? Psychopathy and Machiavellianism. That word is just so long and weird and awkward to say, Machiavellianism. Can we just say Machiavelli? Machiavelli, Machiavelli, Machiavelli. Hey, Machiavelli. All right. Machiavelli. Now, these are the three dark triad traits. Now, often using empathy to manipulate others. So people with these dark triad traits, learn a form of cognitive empathy to further be able to manipulate others. This is why in the beginning of the video I said, narcissism, your run-of-the-mill narcissists, which are just foolish, aggressive bullies, they like to bum rush you with love bombing, bring excitement, aggressively pursue you, make empty promises, act foolish, but somehow win you because of the rush of biochemistry and dopamine and serotonin, and they hijack your biochemistry and they get you addicted to their stupidity in order to form an attachment with you. That's how narcissists operate in this life until you wake up and you realize, wow, what the heck am I addicted to? Right? What is this person? This is an absolute fool who has me addicted to them. What is going on here? Right? So these foolish narcissists have learned this artificial light source, something that they don't have because they are void of true empathy. They're void of compassion. Anybody who just bullies and tries to force their way into people's life, obviously they don't have an ounce of compassion. They don't care about people. We know that. Narcissists do not care about you. They care about what they can get from you. So if they can learn this artificial light, if they can learn an artificial form of empathy, then they can understand how to get something from you. It's just another form of love bombing in a way, right? So narcissists can in fact learn a form of empathy. Let's talk real quick about how they learn empathy to begin with. Is empathy something that you can learn? A form of it is, absolutely. There's two types of empathy. There's a God-given gift of empathy, a God-given gift of compassion for others. And this is something that is real, that's in the world. It's emotion-based. It's being able to feel what other people truly feel, okay? A learned form of empathy is different. A learned form of empathy comes from books. A learned form of empathy comes from education, which means you read about subtle cues. You read about people's gestures, people's facial expressions. You read books on words that they're using and words that you can use in order to provoke, in order to get certain things out of people, right? There's a science to it. And by the way, narcissists oftentimes thrive off of learning these things. This is the, if you will, this is the trade-off with narcissists. Their lack of emotional compassion ability in this life is made up for by their ability to absorb information. They're like empty computers, and they can absorb through books the ability to recognize facial expressions, body gestures, cues. They look for somebody's reaction, whereas a true empath isn't looking for a reaction. A true empath is looking to try to speak into a person's life in a healing way. A narcissist is looking for somebody's reaction to see what they need to say next. It's like a playbook, right? So they're going to learn empathic abilities through perhaps college, through studying, through reading different books and whatnot. And this is important for you to understand, because this is going to, in a moment, we're going to talk about where you're going to find most dark empaths in this life. Where are you going to run into them? As a matter of fact, I'm going to ask you right now, put in the comment section down below, based on what we're talking about, where do you think you're going to find most dark empaths? Where do you think they will most likely be? Where are you going to run into them? We'll come back to that. All right. Let's get into a little bit more about what it has to say, what the definition of dark empathy. Let's talk more about what it is here, right? It says it's characterized by empathy and dark traits, right? We already talked about that. Dark triad traits. They exhibit traits from the dark triad, including narcissism, psychopathy, Machiavelli, right? They use manipulation. Manipulation. I feel like I'm running on. Blah, blah, blah. Got like diarrhea of the mouth here. Got to calm down. You can tell I'm fired up about this conversation here. All right. Manipulation. They can use their understanding of others' emotions to manipulate them, often for their own benefit. I feel like that's the whole point of this. This is how you're going to know you're dealing with a dark empath, is because they are manipulating people for their own benefit. Let's talk about what this looks like and get into where you're going to find most dark empaths. So Narcissists' whole goal in this life is for their own benefit, right? Just your run-of-the-mill, foolish, narcissistic person who love bombs you, who promises you the world, who makes all these empty future faking things, right? It's for their own benefit. They're trying to get something from you. Correct? Correct. It's no different with dark empathy. The only difference is the context of where you're at with the dark empath, which is just nothing more than a narcissist, right? It's the context of the conversation. Both your run-of-the-mill foolish narcissist and your dark empath, which is nothing more than a narcissist, they're only there to get something from you. Now, what is the number one thing a narcissist wants from you? Anybody? Well, they want to control you, right? They want to control you by locking you into their life. They want to lock you into a relationship. That's what narcissists want more than anything. They want to create a master-slave relationship. They lock you in, they box you in to this relationship of believing that you cannot be without them, that you'll never have anything better than them, that you can't go anywhere else, that you need them. This is what your run-of-the-mill foolish narcissists do. In some way, shape, or form, their goal is to lock you down in a relationship with them so they can use you. You belong to them. You become their possession. Now, take this into the territory of the dark empath. Dark empathy, you'll see, has this same narcissistic tendency, and this is how you're going to be able to identify that you're dealing with a dark empath, is by this number one key thing. They're trying to lock you into a relationship. They're creating a master-slave relationship. So let's talk about where you would see this under the guise, if you will, or under the idea or under the belief that you're receiving help, that they are understanding you, right? You're going to believe they're understanding you, but really they're locking you down. They're locking you into a relationship. Where are you going to see this? Typically, you're going to see this in a few places. You're going to see it in counseling offices. All right. You're going to see this in psychologists' offices. You're going to see this in the whole damn medical industry. If you look at how these industries, these professions, if you will, are structured, they're structured by what? Let's all say it together. Locking you into a relationship with them, creating a dependency on them. Well, that's narcissistic by definition. A relationship that is creating a dependent out of you, turning you into a dependent person on them, is in fact narcissistic. And this is where you get dark empathy. So in traditional counseling, traditional psychology, it's not uncommon to start treatment, for example. Start treatment in a professional counseling session where a counselor or a psychologist has gone to school and learned about empathy, learned how to speak the language of empathy, learned how to read people's body cues and gestures, and then read in books the right things to say and what to listen for and blah, 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 all this stuff. But if you notice, the number one goal of a counselor or a psychologist is to lock you in. How do they do that? Well, you're really struggling. I want to see you next week. I think we need to see each other twice a week. I think you need to be here 3 times a week. They're locking you into a relationship. Now, for what reason would somebody want to lock you into a relationship like that? Who do you think benefits the most? Who benefits out of being locked into a relationship with a psychologist or a counselor? Is it really the person that has to show up always feeling like garbage? The one showing up saying, I need help because I'm struggling and I don't know what to do. Are they really benefiting? No, if they were benefiting, they wouldn't have to show up every week. The only person really benefiting in that situation is the one who created the dependency. The one who just has to sit there in their chair and listen. Listen and write crap down. Who knows what they're writing down? They could be playing, hangman or, scribbling nonsense, writing love letters, writing their vacation goals. Who knows? They're just writing stuff, right? And by the way, this isn't all psychologists, all counselors, and all doctors. It's just my sense of humor. But the point is they're sitting there writing stuff, listening, but at the end of the session, I want to see you next week. This is a number one indication that they are locking you in, boxing you in to a dynamic, a relationship of control. Master slave, right? You need me. I'm going to be here. Keep showing up. By the way, this is how the medical industry has been formed in a lot of ways. And this isn't an attack on the medical industry because there's a lot of good things, right? We need good doctors. We need surgeons. We need people out there saving people's lives. But if you think about it, the business of medicine, if you will, psychology, counseling office, it doesn't survive because they want to make sure people are well, not necessarily. I mean, well enough, right? Well enough to function in the real world, but sick enough to have to come back. And by the way, churches do the same thing. Right? Church's goal isn't, the goal of church isn't really to instill the word of God and then send people out and say, go and be the hands and feet of Jesus. No, it's keep coming back, keep coming back. And so oftentimes a lot of even churches will develop programs that are designed to keep people stuck, feeling bad about their lives. So they keep coming back to receive the message. Counselors' offices, psychologists, certain medical practices, the same thing. Give you just enough, give you a Band-Aid, talk about the symptom, not talk about what's going on in your life in a true, empathic, compassionate way so that you can be set free and move on with your life. No, it's, well, how long can we drag this out? This is how you know you're dealing with dark empathy. It's a form of empathy that's used to communicate with you. It knows the right words. It knows the expressions. It knows how to keep hitting on this nerve that something's wrong with you in a way that locks you into a relationship. And that's what narcissists want to do. Narcissists want to keep you locked into a relationship. They don't want you to go. So this is how you know you're dealing with dark empathy. This is, by the way, one of the things as a coach myself, since I've been coaching, I've never felt the need ever to tell anybody, I want to see you again next week. I think you need to call me. Anytime somebody asks me, Kevin, what's the next step? It was a great discussion. I've had a lot of break-free moments in this discussion, but what do I do next? Do I need to come back? No, you don't need to. If you want to, I'm here. Anytime you want to reach out, you're welcome to reach out to me. You know where to find me. You can schedule any time. But I would never lock somebody into this relationship of, you know what, you're in real bad shape. I think that you definitely need to call me twice a week for the next 6 months. That's creating a really weird dynamic, a dependency, if you will. Okay. But it gets worse than that. A lot of times these people will also diagnose you and use that as the reason for a person to keep showing up. You have ADHD, and so I want to see you every week, or I think you're schizophrenia, or I think you're, bipolar, or I think that you are paranoid. And so I'm also going to prescribe this medication because I've been given the authority to prescribe this stuff. Now they're really locking you in because they've got you on some form of medication too. Now, I'm not saying that medication is all bad, but I also, in my own life experience, know that, a lot of times people don't need medication. They need to have somebody understand the toxicity of the environment that they've been in. That's what compassion, that's what true empathy is. It's being able to see not you as the issue. It's able to see what you've been through as the issue. It's able to see what you're going through as the issue. That's what a true empath is going to be able to see. They're going to be able to listen to what's going on in your environment, what's going on in your workplace, what's going on in your family, what's the relationship like with your friends, and be able to break down the various points of toxicity that are keeping you stuck. That's what empathy, that's what compassion is. It's compassion to be able to lift you up and out. Whereas dark empathy is not going to focus on that. Dark empathy is going to focus on you. Dark empathy, not in a good way, right? I know you're like, well, I want them to focus on me to help me. Not in the right way. It's focusing on you, making you out to be the problem. Dark empathy is, how do I diagnose you? Remember, dark empathy is, how do I lock in this relationship? How do I make this relationship about you so that I can lock you in to a place of dependency? As opposed to a true empath, a person of compassion, is going to, yes, also focus on you, understand you, but also understand what has you stuck. True empathy, true compassion is going to see the chains that have you by your wrists and by your feet and what those chains are connected to. True empathy, true compassion is going to work to break those chains. Dark empathy is not going to address those chains, is going to instead try to numb you. Numb you so you stay stuck. Why? Because you staying stuck in the toxicity keeps you in a place of being down, keeps you in a place of feeling like you need help. And then they also then get to be the savior. And they can speak the language of empathy, dark empathy, to make you believe that they're working with you, to make you believe that they're working to make you feel better. But the whole time, all they're trying to do is pacify you, to numb you, to put little band-aids over your symptoms through medications, through drugs, and through once a week appointments, twice a week, 3 times a week appointments. Meanwhile, you never break free in life. 5 years go by, 10 years go by, and you're still chained to the same toxic family. You're still chained to the same toxic atmosphere, work environment, the same friends. This is how you know you're dealing with dark empathy. I believe that the point here is that dark empathy is bigger than you realize it is. As a matter of fact, most of the business models that are structured in medical industry, psychologists, counselors, most of them operate within the dark empathy structure, right? It's all a form of benefiting them. How do they line their pockets? How do they keep you continuing to come in? Okay. Church, same thing. A lot of churches, same way. What types of messages can they deliver that are good enough to make you praise Jesus in the moment, but also how do they put things in there to make you feel like you really need to keep coming back? You got to keep coming back. Not only that, but you need tithe and this and that. So it's important for you to understand just how widespread this dark empathy is, but you also need to know that there is a lot of true passion, compassion, empathy out there, right? There's a balance. It's why I'm very grateful for platforms like YouTube, because it's opened up the door for this balance. No more do you have to simply rely on traditional counselors, psychologists, or even the medical industry. Right now, you can open up YouTube and you can watch videos on what really resonates with you. You can hear the voice of your own kind. You can listen to somebody who is literally speaking into your situation, helping you to understand, like shining a light on where your chains are. What is it you're chained to? Is it your mom that's creating issues in your life? Is it your dad that's creating issues in your life? Is it your siblings? Is it the work that you have? What's chaining you? What's keeping you stuck? And boom, suddenly there's an ability for not only these chains to be exposed, but broken. Something that traditional psychology and counseling and therapy and church and the medical industry never really touched on before, right? So you can see just how much of society has been structured under dark empathy as opposed to true compassion for people. As I said before, I am here to support you. Down in the description box right below this video, you'll find access for one-on-one appointments with me. I do take telephone calls and video calls through Zoom, FaceTime, and WhatsApp. And as I said, I do not lock you into any type of relationship. So head on down there, schedule some time with me. Also consider the Royal We Private membership. You can get started down below as well. Check out one of these videos recommended by the YouTube algorithm. If you're brand new to the channel, hit subscribe, hit the bell notification so you don't miss any future Royal We content, and I'll be back right here on the Royal We. Bye.